All right, guys, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. Here on the Model Mindset, we like to have people on who definitely inspire us. Also, are on the same wavelength as us. And in your case, you guys, are two guys who started your own business, started your own real estate company. So we have a lot of questions for you guys. Obviously, as hopeful, soon entrepreneurs ourselves. We just want to see if you can pick your brains, see how you guys were able to develop your company, how you were able to grow it to where it is today, and have some cool conversations in between. So appreciate you guys jumping on.
Cool. Thanks for having us.
Welcome to the Model Mindset.
Woo!
That's right. So the founders of Rejuvenate, we're first going to introduce my buddy Dave, our buddy Dave. Dave grew up in Mozart, Canada with a hockey stick at birth. I'm just kidding, but he grew up playing hockey. And you actually played and accepted a scholarship at Sacred Heart University, where you were capped in your senior year. And you played professional hockey, which we can touch on later, from 2009 until 2012, where you actually won the CHL championship in 2010 with Rapid City Rush.
Damn, man.
Yeah,
That's right.
Should have worn my ring tonight.
For real, right? You got a
should've,
ring,
yeah.
man. Like,
showed
what?
a picture of that right there. You're married to a fantastic human being, Brenna, and you have two kids, Thatcher and Vivian, who are both fantastic as well. Now,
Sometimes, yeah.
I don't know if you remember the first time we met, but we met at a Halloween party where Mike and I dressed up as Siegfried and Roy.
Yep.
And Brenna was Kate Middleton.
Yep.
And you were Prince William.
Prince.
Really? And I have to say, we had a great night.
We had a great night.
That was the first night I met you. You were a fantastic human being. You still are, of course. But I just remember you being very easy to talk to. Just a very good human being. So that hasn't changed, luckily.
Yeah.
But Dave, you're one part of Rejuvenate. So let's meet the other part, Pete. Pete, you grew up in Enfield. You graduated Enfield High in 2001. You played football. You continued your football playing career at UMass Lowell, and then transferred to Westfield State. But unfortunately, you had to hang up the cleats due to too many concussions, which I'm sure everybody.
Really? Too many concussions, huh?
Violent sport,
man.
You actually are assistant coach too with the Raiders. Actually, it's not Raiders. Sorry, it's Enfield
Eagles.
Enfield Eagles. Excuse me,
Ooh, flashback.
I know.
Former Falcon over here.
I know. And you are a special education teacher with the high school as well. Fun fact, before you were a special education teacher, you were actually a correctional officer for 5 years. So that'd be cool. We'll get into that and see how you made the transition. You married your high school sweetheart, Kim, which is awesome. And you have two lovely kids as well, Haley and Luke. And so, Pete, I don't know if you remember this. We're gonna go.
I was gonna ask about this now.
I had to remind my wife that I didn't know what you were talking about.
Well, I guess you know. I guess you know. So my freshman year. Now, were you a senior when I was a freshman? Did you graduate in 01? Okay. So my friend Kevin, R.I.P. Kevin Wood, he was supposed to get into a fight with another kid from Fermi, the opposing high school.
Big time.
And I'm going to let everybody know that I'm not a big fighter, okay? I'd rather talk than try to have some fisticuffs, okay? And so I was a little nervous about this because Kevin was like, hey, Brian, can you have my back? And I'm like, yeah, sure, of course. And so we used to play basketball because you would go over to Jeff Marquis' house.
Yeah.
So we'd play, pick up. Matt Zukowski would be there. So I remember going to you. I said, hey, Pete, my buddy Kev asked me to have his back. And a couple of our friends, can you come to the basketball courts, make sure no one fucks with me? And, absolutely. I got it. So I was like,
absolutely.
Yeah. Now, I didn't think he would actually show up. So we get to JFK, and there was Pete. He beat me. You were there with Jeff Marquis.
Yep.
You stayed for an hour, and then he left. 10 minutes later, 30 kids show up, and we run from the fucking basketball court because they're all chasing us. My buddies, so Dan Russo will remember this story. You blinked, and that kid was already in my parents' house, like just watching. Our other buddy Mike stopped running, and they punched him in the face. And so I just kept running. So I got back.
Have my back. I'll let you get punched in the face. I'm good.
So they showed up. Kevin never actually showed up. and Mike got punched in the face, but I respect the hell out of you because you kept your word, and you're a great guy.
All right, so hold on. I have follow-ups. All right. I have follow-ups. So were you guys like boys at that point, or were you just like you just knew each other, kind of
I would
acquaintances?
say we were friends.
Yeah, we're friends. Yeah.
All right, cool. I was gonna say
The two short guys who play basketball against tall guys.
All
We
right,
got around them.
okay, all right. I was gonna say, so like it's kind of a tall ask
Yes,
for someone like that.
yeah.
You're not like type with like, hey,
Yeah.
man, and to stick around for an hour, nevertheless.
Yeah.
That's some commitment. So,
I mean, he was actually. I have to admit, you are a great guy. I remember we would play basketball, and I was intimidated by you because you were a strong motherfucker, but you're just super nice, man. You're super nice. You're easy to talk to, and I was a freshman, so I was like intimidated by your course. But you're just super nice, man.
I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, exactly. And you
We had a lot
showed
of fun.
Yeah, you showed up, man. Holy fuck. So you guys
That's a
make
great
up
story.
Rejuvenate. So I'm happy you guys are on in the model mindset.
Yep.
For our audience, can you tell us about what Rejuvenate is and how it was all culminated?
Yeah. So what we do is we invest in real estate. So Pete and I partnered up 2 years ago, and we buy properties, usually distressed properties, so they need some work.
Mhm.
We run through the rehab of that property, and then we either sell it or we rent it out to tenants.
All right.
So that's like the short answer of what
Yeah.
we do. But so we're constantly trying to buy properties and run through that same process.
Gotcha.
And build the number of doors that we own, right? When we say that, it's like just, if you buy a 3-family, 3 doors kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And we do flips just to fund the rest of the business. You get
Okay.
that cash in the door, and then it helps fund the next deal.
Exactly. Okay.
We also started Rejuvenate Homes, which is like a spin-off. It's our general contracting business.
Okay.
And we kind of use to supplement. During slow times, we try to supplement with some general
Oh, I
contracting
see.
work.
All right.
Yeah.
And so how did you guys kind of form that? Because I know, Dave, you're a real estate agent. Pete, did you like do any side work, anything like that? Or were you
Yeah.
guys
So
just
my first house, with my wife, was a house that was just a shell of a house, and it just needed to be, rejuvenated, if you will.
Yes.
And, so I actually
Subtle
had,
plug.
I actually had one of our old math teachers, Mr. Brummage, come, and he helped me contract the whole thing, and I did a lot of skilled labor for him. Learned a bunch, and just really loved the process.
Yeah.
To see something that's beat up, worn down, turn into something nice.
Yeah.
That a new family gets to enjoy.
Right.
And that's kind of what we just love doing, is just be able to walk out at the end of the day, no matter what part of the project we're at, and just say, man, we did this.
Yeah.
And
That's
someone's
cool.
going to really enjoy this.
Right.
So,
Yeah. That's cool.
So I mean, like you said, so you're looking at places where you can do multiple things, right? Flip, rent, all that stuff like that. Do
Yeah.
you guys have how many rentals do you have now over the house? So how long have you been doing it now?
2 years.
2 years.
2 years.
Okay. Are you trying to grow your rentals? Do you have a preference
Yeah.
on stuff? Like how does that whole process work?
When we go into analyze a deal, our first option, our first preference is always to have it as a rental.
Yeah.
Right. So that's like the first thing we do, is try to make the numbers work to do a buy and hold
Yeah.
strategy. We do it's called the BRRRR strategy. So you buy it, you rehab the property, you rent it out, then you refinance, and then you repeat. So there's your BRRRR.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So when you buy it low, then you rehab, you gain the equity. Once you get renters in there, then you go to the bank and say, all right, well, I got this property, I bought it for $100,000. Now it's worth 200. I'll take a loan on that 200. You pay the whole front load of your purchase price, plus all your repairs off, hopefully all of it.
Mhm.
Ideally, you leave no money in the deal, and then you just take the same money and you do it again.
That's
Right.
genius.
So
That's
yeah,
genius.
I mean, it takes a little while,
I was
right,
gonna
to go
say,
through that
yeah.
process, but
Yeah.
that's the first option.
Yeah.
Always to try to figure out if we can rent, because that's our goal, right? Is
Right.
to build the doors.
Yeah.
If that doesn't work, then we say, all right, can we flip this, right? Can we make a profit, enough of a profit for us to just fix it up and flip it?
Yeah.
If that doesn't work, then we say, all right, well, can we wholesale it?
Mhm.
So that's like, okay, we buy it from wherever we buy it from. Maybe we clean it out, or maybe we just say, go to our investor crew and say, do you want to buy this for 10 grand more?
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I see.
Make a quick buck, even if it's a few grand or whatever, and then we just get rid of it.
Right.
And we move on to the next one.
I see. All right.
Wow.
That's
That's
pretty
cool.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So all right, listen. So I got to ask first off, just want to be careful hitting the table. I don't know how much that'll affect that. Not that I'm fucking.
Yeah.
That's one of the whole episode. Like, I'll fucking can't use it. So for the start of this process now, obviously there's probably a lot of risk involved in that too. You know what I mean? And that whole process of fronting a lot of that money and all that stuff like that. How did you guys kind of navigate that fear factor of like, okay, like this shit can go sideways on us sometimes too here. You know what I mean? Like, is that still a thing too, like to this day?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I'm probably the one to slow play it, really think it through before making an attempt to take the risk.
What
Right.
you need.
What you need,
balancing act.
we have the balance, and but we do a lot of learning.
Yeah.
We listen to a lot of books on tape. We listen to a lot of podcasts, and with that knowledge, you become more comfortable.
Right.
Yeah.
And so once we became comfortable, we took that first step, and we go through a long process.
Yeah.
We're very conservative on how we run our numbers.
Yeah.
And if the numbers work, and we feel it's a good property, then we'll take a risk at it. But it only came after we learned a bunch.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you know what's funny too is you're speaking my language, because the other day I don't know if you guys are familiar with Mel Robbins. So she was talking about confidence the other day on her podcast, and so she said how to gain confidence is by taking action. Yeah. So I'm assuming when you first started getting into properties, flipping houses, there might have been more like reluctancy / fear, but because you've been taking action, you have more confidence. You're kind of like, hey, you know what? This is a little risky, but I can see us maybe comparing it to another property that we did earlier. Have you noticed that, like, since you guys have had a lot more property, a lot more confidence now?
I feel like you're thinking of something. Just the way you're laughing.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking back to that first flip that him and I did together.
Yeah.
We looked at those numbers for like hours. We're like, all right, let's go through this again.
Right.
And in hindsight, it's like, holy shit. Like, we should have like signed, and we could have paid 30 grand more, and it still would have been a good deal. Like,
right.
And so like now if we see the same property, it's like, yeah, done deal.
Yeah.
Send them an offer. So it's just that experience, right?
Yeah.
Once you get comfortable with analyzing deals, and we know renovation budgets, which is huge, right?
Yeah.
Now we've done enough of these where you're like, okay, well, that's going to be 30 grand. That's 60. You
so
got to do roof and siding. Well, that's 30 grand right there.
Yeah.
Right?
So you know a lot of the numbers, like by eyesight,
Yeah.
like okay, ding, ding, you're adding up in your head right there.
Yeah.
I see.
And
Okay.
lots of times, these wholesalers will just send us deals, and it's like, well, there's 20 pictures, so we can all of us, like, without even walking in there, we can already have a good ballpark of, within range, what this is our rehab budget,
Right.
and we can even offer it before we walk in there.
Yeah.
I got you.
And so, I mean, clearly that means since you first started to now, I mean, your whole business model must have evolved.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree.
Do you guys do a lot of the renovation stuff, or do you have a lot of contractors that you partner with?
As of we started just us two.
Yeah,
And then,
that's awesome.
as we continue to grow, we pick up one more subcontractor.
Right.
Smart.
Okay.
And then we try to make sure it works.
Yep.
Yeah.
And as we've done that, we've created a little bit of a crew.
Mhm.
We're still looking, trying to make it as passive as we can.
See,
Yeah.
that's smart. You see marketing right there. That's right. That's right. Everybody needs is good with their hands.
That's right. Come on in.
That's right. So we're still trying to build our team, but it's all started with us two, just every day
Awesome.
going after work and
Yeah.
just hammering out.
Right. So how were those days long to start?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Rewarding though.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, we're both working full time, so
Right.
you go after work and find someone to take care of the kids, and then you
Yeah.
swing a hammer for a while. But
Yeah.
for me, and I won't speak for you, Pete, but it's not really work when you're going over there, right?
Right.
It's
Man,
like you
that's-
get out of your job, and then you're like,
that's a good
okay,
point.
I'm
Yeah.
fine. I can go,
Yeah.
take a
Looking
wall
forward to it.
down, or I'll go put a kitchen up, or whatever. And it's not
like an outlet.
hard work.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that part's not too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, we got a funny story. Our first house that we just talked about, it was like sloped like almost 2.5 inches. And so we already agreed to the deal, and we just found that out. And I'm panicking. And Dave's like, "No, don't worry. What could happen?"
Yeah.
So first,
I can see him saying that too. He's very easy going. It's
So
fine.
like,
Everything's
We're
fine.
good.
So I think it was like the third day in, we decided to lift the house.
Oh shit.
We had both our wives, popping staples upstairs, and we're jacking up the house. And things are popping,
Oh,
the
shit.
wives are yelling.
Yeah.
and so after that point, I was like, man, we can do anything.
Yeah, yeah,
We just
yeah.
lifted a house, like really.
Yeah. You just compare it to that experience. We're
Right.
like, ah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I think that's a good way, like how we work is like Dave's willing to look at it and just say, let's do this. And,
Yeah.
you know,
You need
I feel
that.
confident enough in his confidence in the deal that
Yeah.
you know, let's
Yeah.
go. you
Yeah.
know?
That's I don't know if we'll get more into that, but like that's as a partnership, we noticed that right away. It was like I'm like, fuck it. Let's just get our hands dirty. We'll figure it out as we go. And
Right.
Pete's like, well, wait a second.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about this for a second. Let's put a plan together. And
Yeah.
so
And that's
he's-
still
he-
to this day.
Oh yeah.
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 That's
For
funny.
Yeah.
sure.
But you know, it's funny though. You need that, or it's
You
good. I
need
think
it.
that's why your business has probably been successful.
Right.
Yeah.
And like we can relate to that because there's been times where I have been fearful of something, or perhaps John might have been fearful of
Right.
something, and we motivate each other, or we hold each other accountable. I'm
Yeah.
sure it's the same thing too, where like you're saying, hey, let's go, or he's thinking about things, or maybe he's reluctant, and you're like, no, we can do this, and it's a balancing act. And I'm sure that's why your company has been successful because of the relationship you two have. How did you guys start that? Like, how did all of a sudden you recognize, hey, you two are good with your hands? You know, like I don't know. We'll edit that.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Well, we hang out with the same friends, right? And so as we started hanging out more, we just started talking about it. And I had bought a 2-family house in Manchester on my own, and that was a bitch. It was a lot of work
Was it?
that I did on my own, and so that was like my first step in.
Yep.
And then so I was like, I wasn't ready to do that again right away. And then I started talking to Pete, and Pete and I were, he's got another condo he didn't mention before. He has a condo. He redid his whole house. And so we had a lot in common talking about that stuff. And then from there, it was like, all right, well, should we try to do something? And, we didn't start a, LLC or anything. We were just like, all right, let's try to partner on a deal. You found that first flip, that smoking deal. And we're like, all right, let's do it.
Right.
And after that, then it just was like, let's go.
It's fun, man. And that's, I mean, similar to us, kind of like nothing was ever like planned, right? Like shit just kind of falls into place, right? And you kind of like learn each other's tendencies and stuff like that. And you kind of like, so for us, it was kind of like, I wanted to start a podcast as I was going through my certification process of personal training, just so I can maybe like get like a base, like a client base, or at least some interest. So that way when I was certified, I would have interests right away, right?
Yeah.
And then one day I was talking to him about it, and I wanted to have him on as like my first guest because like the way like we we're talking and recently and changing our mindset and stuff like that. And he was like, well, like is it gonna be like every week? And in my head I was like, well, no, it would be like just this time. But then I was like, shit, would you want to do it every week? He's like, yeah. I'm like, well, fucking let's do it then. You know what I mean? So like it just kind of just out like it was almost like the same thing. Like, all right, let's just do this thing then, right? And then that just kind of evolved into a podcast, into a fitness and coaching program, and then eventually down the line will be a company, right? But it's just funny how those things evolve, man. You kind of just trust can kind of form quick. Like you guys know each other, we've known each other, so that's different. But like for you guys now, for like the contractors you're working with, is it kind of the same way? Do you have some contractors sometimes you have and you're like, this might be a one-time deal and that's it? Or like, you know what I mean? Or did you, the ones you use all the time now, did you have it where you were like, yeah, these are some guys we can use and trust?
I think we've been pretty lucky.
Yeah.
In the
We
most
really
part.
have,
We've had some good people come enjoy and help us out, and we've stuck by them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that we've been lucky in that way. We haven't had a lot of bad experiences.
But I could
No,
also
really.
see that. I could see that. The reason why I say I can see that is because you guys both have high character. And what you put out into the world is what typically you attract. So with you saying you've been lucky to have high quality people, I don't think you've been lucky. I think it's because you attract that. So that's
For
cool.
sure. In perspective.
Exactly. And so one thing I have to ask, you guys have full-time jobs, you guys have a family, and you guys have Rejuvenate, but you also coach. I'm sure everyone, after I just rattle all that off, how do you balance
it? I think that's a work in progress.
Yeah.
And I think as my mind has grown
Mhm.
and I'm thinking in a way where I got to prioritize things.
Mhm.
It when things arise, I take a second and think about it.
Yeah.
Perfect example. We had a snow day the other day. We hadn't had snow in forever. I got an 11-year-old and 8-year-old. They want to go sledding. And at first I'm like, no, I got too much to do.
Right.
But then I paused and really, thought it through, and I was like, man, there's only going to be so many of these.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good
And so I
perspective.
said, let's go. Let's
Yeah.
jump in the truck and let's go.
Yep.
And, I had a blast with them.
Yeah.
I sat back for a while because, my daughter's 11, a little
Yeah.
cool for school.
Yeah.
But she asked me to come sled with her. I was like, man, this is the best.
Yeah.
I'm glad I took the time to think this through
Exactly.
and brought them.
Yeah, I do that a lot now too, man. Where I'm like, and it sounds bad, right? But you're forcing yourself to say yes to them because like it's easy to say no when you have a lot of stuff to do. They don't understand how much we have to do,
Right.
so it's easy to say no sometimes. But the flip side, it's hard to say yes sometimes too, and making like the effort. And then when you're out there though, you never regret it. No, you never do. You know what I mean? So that's cool. It's a cool story.
Yeah.
What about you, man? How's that? How's
Yeah,
that
I think
balance?
it's the hardest part about
Yeah.
doing all this stuff is just balance and everything. I mean, we both feel pretty passionate about like being good parents, being good husbands, right? Family first kind of thing, and
Yeah.
That's huge.
we give ourselves allowances, right? If it's a Sunday and we're putting a kitchen in, well, Pete's like, well, I got 2 hours and then I got to go do something with the kids,
Yeah.
and that's always fine. So I think like having that mentality is important.
Yeah.
And I mean, it evolves, right?
Yeah, definitely.
There were times where we were like going crazy when we had multiple projects and like you don't see your family a whole lot.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think we've grown a lot in that area where we know how to work when we can work, but when it's time for family, we just make that time.
Right.
That's all it is.
Yeah. I mean, that's huge. That's huge. It's funny too is when your values align, where it's like family.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
easy for each other to be like, yeah, all right, no problem. You got
Exactly
it. You know?
right. Yeah.
We pick each other up too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Recently my son had major surgery.
Yeah.
And
Glad he's doing good.
thank you. I appreciate that. And Dave jumped right in. He's like, don't worry about it. Don't even think about it.
Exactly.
And he picked it up and ran with the ball, and everything was fine.
Yeah.
So it's just having that trust that somebody else is going to be there for you.
Yep.
And it's okay to step away when you need to.
Right. You don't gotta ask, right?
Yeah.
It's just understood. You know what I mean? You don't need to say it. It's just understood. That's cool.
And what's
Yeah.
been, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to add to that, right? So building a team, right? We talked a little bit about that.
Yeah.
That's been important for us as we're trying to scale this company up, right? Because we could, if we keep doing the things we're doing, we could do, a couple flips and buy a couple more rentals a year, but we want to do more. So if we can get a team where, they're working while we're at work,
Right.
That's a valid
Yep.
point,
you can,
yeah.
you know what I mean? So it's not such a strain on our, time
Exactly,
away
right.
from work.
Yeah.
We're getting stuff done when we're at work, and that's important, right? So
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
always trying to figure out how to build a team, a strong team.
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
you
You're
can keep
essentially
scaling
paying.
up.
You're paying to free up time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
pretty much what you're doing. You're
Exactly.
buying time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is hard.
And that's the way we look at it too. It's like, well, is this worth our time
Yeah.
right now, right?
But that's an important factor.
It's so
Yeah.
important, especially as you get busy, and it's like, well, okay, painting is a good example.
Yeah.
It was one of the first things to go because for us, we're hacks, so we're
Yeah.
with the blue tape, and
Yeah.
Pete's a lot better than I am, but I was like, fuck this.
Oh,
This
yeah.
has got to go.
Yeah.
It takes me way too long,
it.
so let's get rid of this right now. And we
Yeah.
found an awesome painter. He's been doing everything for us now.
Yeah.
And what's interesting too is I found that you guys use the passion word, which is huge. And I can tell this is something that you're very passionate about, just like John and I are very passionate about, like the podcast and the coaching too. And I found that when you are involved in something that you're passionate about, it doesn't feel like work, right?
Yeah.
But what I found is that sometimes I'm like heads down, right? Which means I may not pick up on the cues that Val needs some time, So I've had very transparent conversations with her. Like if I am just heads down, working on the side hustle, tell me that you need some time. Tell me you need to talk to me, because it's not that I'm neglecting you. It's just that I'm just so focused, and she's my priority. Her and the boys are my number one priority, just like I know Danny and your girls are number one priority. But
Right.
like since we have talked about that, having open lines of communication, that has been beneficial, in also making sure that we have at least date night once a month. I mean, that has been huge, So
Yeah.
how has your spouses been like supporting the side hustle? Have they loved you guys doing it? Has
Well,
it been mixed feelings because of that?
Judging by what you said when they were pulling nails out of the floor when the house was getting into, I feel like they're probably in the game.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
Or it's been trying. It's been probably ups and downs because of time. And
Of
stuff
course,
too.
yeah.
We sweeten the pot for them,
Yeah.
right? This is the deal.
All right,
Every
all right.
time we close a deal, we take them out for a nice dinner,
There you go.
That is,
and the four of us go out and celebrate.
There
that's
you go.
awesome.
That's awesome.
See,
That is
so-
cool.
that's that you guys just started like a
Yeah,
it's a tradition.
it's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
tradition.
tradition.
Although I think we're a couple behind.
Yeah,
Right?
I think
Oh,
it's
Jesus.
That's a good
well,
thing.
now
We
you're
gotta
out.
edit that out, actually.
Yeah, don't tell them that.
No, but I think they completely got our backs. Of course, they're gonna have times where they're like, "Oh man, I need to see you."
Exactly, right. You need help here.
But they got our back, and
Yeah.
we, our families help each other out. So
Yeah,
I think that's very helpful to have that support.
Yeah,
That's huge.
that is.
yeah, that's a great point, right? So like Kim always, Pete's wife Kim,
Yeah.
is always like, do you need help with the kids? You need,
Mhm.
just drop them off, right? And Brenda does the same thing,
Mhm.
so that's important. I mean, I think early on, well, I know speaking for my situation, when I bought that first duplex in Manchester, Brenda was like, "Whoa, this is," because it was a big job.
Yeah.
Bought a foreclosure was a dump.
Yeah.
And I was doing everything myself, and so that got hairy. And Brenda was like, "Okay,
Yeah.
take
That's
a break."
the only one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then, and she said this to me before. It's like when you and Pete started doing work together, she's like felt a lot more relieved because it's
Yeah.
just like half the stress,
Exactly.
half
Right.
the risk.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they're definitely on board. They're
Yeah.
rocks for us.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Now, yeah, are you guys like each other's like sounding boards too, though? I mean, I feel like when you spend a lot of time together, like him and I, like before we like start business or like even when we're doing our shit, it's like we'll still like check in on each other. You know what I mean? Like, and if shit's going on at the house or with your family or at work or something like that, you kind of like will just, bleh, to them as you're working, right? So like, do you guys kind of have that relationship too, where you're kind of like you feel like, all right, man, anything flies here. I can tell you guys anything type of thing.
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah.
For sure.
we've had some late nights putting in some work. A slow song comes on the radio and we get emotional.
You hear that wine bottle pop?
Yeah.
That's cool.
No, Pete and I see a lot of each other because we are kids, but also play sports together. Too.
That was my next question
They
about
play
it.
hockey and
Yeah.
they play baseball together. So
So you
we're
guys are around
always
each other
all the
24/7.
time.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like having a brother, right?
Yeah. True.
I think we do a good job of like when it's certain times we don't really talk about the business. We talk about whatever else is going on in the world.
Exactly, right?
That's huge.
And then when it's time to talk business, we talk business.
Yeah.
That's huge. That's huge. Because I think you need that too. It's like because we made a pact with each other like on the week Friday, Saturdays where we don't work. It's family time, kind of just decompress a little bit.
Yep.
Normally we pick back up like Sunday and all week pretty much. But I think it is important, like you said, to kind of let the side hustle be a little bit of a side hustle for now. Check in with each other, be friends.
Right.
It's important. With you guys, is there a goal of transitioning the side hustle to like full time? Like, do you guys want to leave your full time jobs and make this side hustle like your priority?
As long as your full time jobs don't listen to this.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, we're getting a lot of viewers, so I can't make any guarantees there.
I think eventually.
Yeah.
We talked. I mean, in the beginning of this, I really didn't understand the true meaning of financial freedom.
Yeah.
Ooh,
I thought
Big word.
financial freedom was just like sitting around.
it's a dream, right?
But it's really just that is the dream.
Yeah.
Where financial freedom just gives you the option to do what you want to do
Right.
and follow your own path.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm after now is trying to get that type of financial freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Would I like to sit on a
Yeah.
beach? Of course.
Yeah.
But I just like to be able to do what I want to do and what I'm passionate about.
Yeah, exactly. And that goes back to what you were saying. Like, it's not work
Yeah.
because you're enjoying it. You know what I mean? So you're just doing probably what you would like to be doing anyway. You're just getting paid for it. You know what I mean? So like that's that sweet spot.
And too, man, is I meant to say this earlier, but when you were talking about it, you said how you love to flip houses and see like the family enjoy the fruits of your labor.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that's fulfillment. That's
Yeah,
like
big
meaning
time.
and purpose right there. And when you have that, because people are typically after that. And when you guys can see, when you have meaning and you have purpose, it's almost like your life just opens up. It's like that lid that was on your life or whatever. is all of a sudden open up because you're like, holy shit, I found this.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm the same way as Pete, right? That's the goal ultimately, financial freedom. And this is I think, well, for me anyways, in the skill sets that I have, it's the best tool that I have in front of me to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Is to invest in real estate. So there's a lot of it. What you guys are trying something with this thing too, to try to, get some extra cash coming in and build a business. And there's a lot of different ways to do it. And for me, it's real estate. That's the one to try to get to that
It's awesome.
financial freedom.
It's awesome. Yeah,
I'm just adding. No, I'm just adding real quick. Sorry, I am listening.
All right, no, you're good.
Don't want to lose it. There you go.
You're good. All right, so we talked about. We want to go into the definition of success.
Yeah, man. We're on a good topic now,
Alright.
so fire away.
Full times. I lost my train of thought. Well, hey, we can edit this. That's why. So towards like the end of episodes, I like to call it like quick fire questions. Just throw them at you.
So this is what
see
he's
how you
trying to say.
balance.
This is the part of the episodes where we have to heavily edit it because because he asks everyone these questions, and then it's kind of like this 15 to 30-second pause where they have no idea what to say. And they're kind of like they're thinking, and it's like, BG, why you gotta ask these fucking questions?
But I like to
Take it easy on us.
Right. Okay. All right. Here we go. How has being a dad changed your life?
So in a huge way, so I had, when my Thatcher's 8 now, when he was born, I had the first shift in my mind of holy shit, I can't just go to the bar on the weekends and spend all my money. I got, I can't just go buy whatever I want. It's like, holy shit, I got a kid to care for, and I got a wife. And so there's a little switch that flipped, right? Where it's like, hey, let's, crank it up a notch for me. And so there was a mindset shift at that point. I started trying to figure out, okay, how am I going to, change my path? How am I going to be more successful? So I started looking at real estate. I was always interested. Really got into it. Got my license. Yeah. Started listening to podcasts.
Motivated you more, right?
Oh, totally. Yeah, totally.
That's awesome.
And then so from there, then I didn't pull the trigger on anything. When my daughter was born, again, it was like, okay, crank it up.
Like another switch?
Another switch, yeah. And then so right after that, I pulled the trigger on that multifamily in Manchester. It was like, all right, let's go.
Yep.
Which was crazy because my daughter was, I think, 4 months old when I bought that place. Wow. And there was in between there, I had a little health scare too that was like, all right, with the ticker, yeah. And so that all got cleared up, and it's all good. But again, it's like, well, I can't be screwing around. I got to take better care of myself, and I got to build something of a legacy, not a legacy, but I got to put people in a better situation than what they are today. And so that was really like a motivational driver for me.
And so that's interesting, and would like to kind of just peel back the layer a little bit, because I know you well. I know about the heart scare a little bit there. With you going through that, did that also kind of be like, I need to value my life more, and I need to be, value being a husband and a parent more? So it almost again, I know we keep saying flip the switch, but it was like, I need to do this for my family. I need to get healthier. I need to be more successful, quote unquote.
Yeah, that was a huge wake-up call for me. I mean, think about where I was at. I was playing professional hockey. I stopped at 28, and then I got that heart thing at 20 or 38. Or no, sorry, I stopped at 28, and then it was 6 years later where I got that thing because I wasn't taking care of myself, right? Mm-hmm. I was like, well, I'm done playing hockey. I don't have to.
Exactly.
Finally, I don't have to work out every summer and try to keep myself in shape. And so then it was a big wake up call. All right, you're not a kid anymore. You're not invincible. So figure your shit out. And so I made a few changes. Nothing too crazy. It was just eating better.
You were running too.
More. Yeah, running a lot.
Yeah. What about you, Pete? How's being a dad changed your life?
It's my number one priority at all times.
Yeah.
I actually connected to you, John, in the first episode. My father passed away when I was 26.
Oh, really? Same age, yeah.
Yes, that put a strong perspective on, what I wanted to be as a father,
Yeah.
And at that time, that's when I kind of transitioned from correctional officer to be a teacher. Part of that was because I didn't want to miss holidays anymore.
Oh,
And
wow.
I knew my kids are coming, and I wanted to be around as much as possible.
Yeah.
You know, my parents didn't graduate high school,
Oh,
so they worked a lot of crazy hours, but they were always at my stuff.
Mhm.
And so I wanted to kind of make a little bit of a change,
Right.
Yeah.
and put my family first.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's admirable, man. That's because that's like a that's the biggest thing. I think everyone, when they have kids, they realize that, like, all right, everything I'm doing now is no longer for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, every thought I have is there. Most of them are not for me anymore, right? And I heard actually this cool quote today, and it was, "You truly become an adult when you love somebody more than you love yourself." And it was kind of like, that's what it's saying is, like, when you're young, you're either as a kid or as like a young adult, you're naturally selfish. It's just what it is, right? You're always focused on you, right? But when you finally become an adult, when you realize that there's people in your life that you can love more than you, and like when I heard that today, I thought it was like, oh, that's interesting. We talk about that stuff a lot, and you saying that, you guys saying that stuff now, it's just like it just brings it all full circle. So, being fathers, I think all of us can say that it's it's a full-time job in itself, right?
Mm.
You know what I mean? But it's something that, as tired as you get, as hard as it is, as stressful as it can be sometimes, like, you forget what life was like before kids.
Yeah.
Like, you just
Yeah,
you don't have
100%.
any like recollection of it almost. Makes you wonder where all your money and time went. But like,
Yeah.
aside from
Yeah.
that, like,
Yeah.
But being a dad is the greatest single thing in the world.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's like a love you didn't know that you were missing, and all of a sudden, it's funny because with Theo, he was born, and I was like, oh shit, I didn't know there was another love, like, because
Yeah, it's a
with
different
your
level, right?
wife,
It's a different love,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And then when Charlie was born by accident, it's kind of like, oh wait,
COVID love.
I was like, holy shit, this is a different kind of love too. And then, of course, last night when we were playing, he throws a Matchbox car right in my head. But
Yeah.
that's beside it.
That's love.
Yeah,
That's
it's
love.
love.
Isn't it crazy too how what it starts out as their babies, and then what it
Oh
grows
my
into,
God.
like every year that as they get older,
Yeah.
it
So
changes every year.
How
right?
old are your oldest now?
My oldest is 11.
11?
8,
8?
8 and 5. I got
See, man, like, even mine's turning 7 soon. And I'm like, I can't even fathom that. Like, I can't even fathom I have a 7-year-old. Like,
Yeah.
then I think,
Yeah.
like, what am I gonna think when they're 13, and then when they're driving away, and like, good lord,
And
I
you
know.
guys all have girls. I mean, God bless you.
all girls.
Well, no.
Oh, I was
They
gonna say,
each have a girl
man.
and a boy.
Okay, all right.
You got 2 girls.
I'm not worried about my girl. She'll handle herself.
That's how my youngest is. I don't worry about her, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't worry about her whatsoever. She's
Yeah.
tiny, but goddamn, is she a force?
Yep. Well, what
This
else
is-
is cool too? Just to add to that,
Yeah.
like something that Pete and I talk about all the time is, our boys, they like to come, especially demo days, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Swinging hammers, like how cool is it for them to just like put
Right.
holes in walls, you
Oh
know?
yeah.
So they love that, and it's cool to have them around. And as they get older, we'll get them, hopefully a little bit more involved.
Yeah.
But like a goal that I have, a huge goal of mine, is to be able to like set them up for success better than what I had,
Mhm.
right? And I had a great childhood, had great parents that did wonderful things for me, but I just want to step it up, right?
Yeah.
And so like one example is if when our kids go to college, we'll just buy a property in that town and then give it to them. Here's
That's
your
huge.
keys. You run it. This
There
is
you
your
go.
business.
Yeah.
And so we can
Responsibility.
set
It's
them
just
up
gonna
for
say that,
that
yeah.
success, right?
Yeah.
And I think that I got started way late in the game because I was playing hockey. I didn't quit playing until I was 28,
Yeah.
and then it was the real world. So I want to like put that in them that they can, they don't have to wait that long.
Right.
Yeah.
Even if you do play hockey, there's ways you can
Yeah.
set yourself up a lot better than what I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, you guys are great examples too. I mean, and what they see, you guys are great examples. Putting in the work, seeing that work ethic,
Yeah.
seeing how you're passionate about something. I mean, that's huge. That's huge. And like honestly, guys, I mean, it's been a blast having you guys on. We know you'll be successful just based upon the 2 types of dudes you are. But we just want to say thank you. And long live Rejuvenate.
Thanks for the hats too.
Thanks for hats. Yeah.
Appreciate you having us on.
thanks guys.
Absolutely.
appreciate it.
It's been fun.
Yeah.